From the cutting edge of anomaly research, you are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, D.W. Gannett.
Hi there, and welcome to episode number 116 of The Evidence. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D, and are you new to the channel? Well, this is an X3D channel. An X3D simply stands for cross-eyed viewing of stereographic images. Now, don't be put off by the cross-eyed term. There's no strain, no pain, no headaches involved, and if you get them, you're doing it wrong. But if you have normal 3D vision, you can absolutely do X3D. And there is a link down below to a tutorial, a video tutorial, where you can learn to do it along with thousands of others who use it not only on this channel, but all over the world for design and industry and science and all of that. And you can do it now too. It's super easy. Anyway, down below, check out the links. And of course, we always have our live links to each image and to other websites and anything pertinent or mentioned in the video. We always try to link them up down below. Now, if you're also new to this channel, we explore both archaeological and geological anomalies on the surface of Mars. And you're saying archaeological? What do you mean? Isn't that a jump? And yeah, it is, I suppose, if you don't consider the mathematics involved. And what I mean by that is we look at non-fractal as opposed to fractal images. Non-fractal and fractal are explained this way in this simple image. Fractal is the mathematics you find in nature. Non-fractal is the mathematics of intelligent design. Not so hard to figure out, is it? You know when you see a boulder that it's natural. You know if you see a log cabin, it's not natural. Someone with a mind made it. And that's what we focus on. Now, not everything we look at is indeed fractal. Many of the geological formations, which may be all they are, but are interesting nonetheless, you know, they're open to speculation. And indeed, the non-fractal ones are as well. But I hope informed speculation is what we do here. That's enough talk. Let's go ahead and dive in and have a look at what we have today. Before we dive into the really juicy stuff, I wanted to share some oddities I found in Nev's GMAC of 3330. This context view is just a small segment of the overall pan, and it covers just about the entire page when you click the link. But it gives you an idea of the terrain and the geology, and as always, I just love pointing out the beautiful blue sky on Mars, which for years NASA and all those trolls eating Cheetos in Mommy's basement insisted simply didn't exist. I wished this one was more clear, but what's interesting here is the symmetrical trapezoidal shape, as well as what might be carving on its face. And like I said, these are mostly oddities rather than what we might consider to be actual artifacts. I guess what intrigued me about this one, other than the square shape and markings on its surface, were these two little structures hidden in the shadow, something square and something circular. Kind of strange erosion, but I suppose it could happen. This one, though, is in a different class. I mean, it really looks like a piece of machinery that's been tumbled and corroded. You have this central body that's covered with plates, plus what appears to be an assortment of rivets and divots. Then you have this long, symmetrical piece jutting out from the bottom and sporting what look like a couple of rivets at its base. And this piece over here has too many interesting angles and projections to simply dismiss it as a rock. Down in front, we have a number of smaller symmetrical pieces that have a definite metallic shine to them. I didn't circle them all, but if you look around, you'll be able to pick them out. This piece off to the left appears to be something that's been manufactured. And before we go, did you notice this plate with what might be rivets? For those of you who click the link in the description below, you'll see another 3 or 4 items I've marked, plus several dozen finds that are basically just rocks coupled with a vivid imagination. Sarah Runcie has been pretty busy lately. Down there, front and center, is something she pointed out in a G-pan by someone named Truthen. Both of these are pretty interesting, even though they could be simply exotic erosion. What Sarah pointed out is this one, which she called a bug. And if you look at it a certain way, it kind of resembles a fat-bodied insect like a mole cricket or maybe a cicada. Pretty big one at 2 to 3 feet long, but hey, who knows? This is Mars, after all. Looks like the Mars-based Orkin Man would have to be one tough dude. What grabbed my eye, though, was this piece off to the right. The overall shape of the stone gives the impression of a lintel. See the symmetrical shape of the back left corner? And all those curlicues, the roughly parallel lines, and those 2 nicely arched formations could certainly tempt someone to think this has been deliberately carved. Rami is always good for some great finds, and I like his formatting, which is why I try to keep it intact for these 3D renders. I have to say, this looks like a mechanism to me. That rounded part in front with 3 circular pieces on it makes me wonder if these are dials of some kind. Of course, the resolution is so pathetic that we can't really know for sure. No fault of Rami's. That's NASA up to its old tricks again. And people sometimes wonder why we put all those colors in there. The truth of the matter is, we don't. Those colors are in the original image, and they appear once you do the color balancing and curves on any particular image. In other words, we have no idea if these colors are real. We're just working with what we've got. Now, for all you proud weirdos, you know who you are. I know your minds are in the gutter, so let's just deal with the 800-pound gorilla in the room right now. We have a giant, schmeckle lying on the surface of Mars. So, were ancient Martians anatomically similar to humans? Is this a priapic edifice toppled at the height of its glory, perhaps erected as part of an ancient fertility temple? Whatever it is, it's a fascinating and then somewhat disturbing find, and at maybe 6 to 8 feet long, it definitely gives me feelings of inadequacy. It's clearly cylindrical, it's got those ridges and lines on its surface, and it certainly appears to be polished. And I think that's enough of that. Let's move on. Isn't it nice when something is close in and relatively clear for a change? This looks like laminated and twisted metal to me. That bottom part is roughly rectangular, and someone please explain to me how that piece coming off the top center is bent that way? Have you seen any rocks that bend like this? I know I haven't, but I've seen plenty of sheet metal bent in this way, either purposely or as a result of an accident. This doesn't have all the bells and whistles, all the gee-whiz factor of some finds, but I think it's a particularly compelling piece of evidence. Be sure to check out Rami's website in the description below for more amazing finds and artwork by this elite anomaly hunter. Japan launched its second lunar orbiter back in 2007, and after reaching the moon, it eventually settled into a polar orbit that varied between 12 and 62 miles. It was nicknamed Kaguya by the Japanese people, named after a celestial moon goddess. It was eventually driven into the moon, making its final impact in August of 2009. But before it bit the dust, any number of interesting images made it back to Earth, one of which was pointed out by Sarah Runcie just the other day. When you go to the YouTube video linked below, the structures appear at the minute 50 mark. Here we can see this immense arcology inside the target area, and bear in mind, the lowest altitude Selene attained was 12 miles above the lunar surface. These ruins are absolutely huge. Let's zoom in. These are spectacular ruins that would be miles high. But there's something I'd like you to notice before we go any further. All of the outlined areas have been carefully and rather obviously blurred out, just exactly the way NASA blurs out its own images of the moon and other bodies. And that tells me one thing. Whoever is issuing the mandates to hide these things from us are operating at a global level, not a national one. Isn't it interesting that nobody wants to buck this mandate, that everyone just knuckles under without a hint of disobedience? And that in turn tells me that the real rulers of this planet have an agenda that has absolutely nothing to do with our own well-being, nothing to do with our ultimate growth as a species, and everything to do with maintaining the status quo at all costs. Those costs would include disease, starvation, war, political corruption, and a whole lot more, but you get the picture. That's a discussion for another time and another place. But that does beg the question, just how awake are you? Only you can answer that. In any case, this image so plainly shows archaeological ruins that I'm not even going to analyze it. But look at the shapes, the symmetries, and try to get a feel for how ancient this must be. Let's get just a bit closer. What do you see here? And what about that honeycombed area in the center? This is an amazing find, and we thank Sarah Runcie for bringing it to our attention. Well, if you saw something you liked today, please give this video a thumbs up. It sure does help. If you want to help this channel out, why not click the join button down below? We'll keep ads off of your X3D experience. There's a signed copy of Martian Archaeology waiting for you. Just click the link below. And meanwhile, for all you proud weirdos out there, you know who you are. Stay safe and stay weird. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.